Warning! The following contains content that could result in a positive perspective on life, which some viewers may find motivational and inspirational. Subsequently, audiences may experience changes in behavior, such as becoming productive and determined. Please attempt to try this at home and occupy your place!
Now, today we're meeting someone who decided to undertake a complex role in an industry many would shy away from. As a pillar of support to many for more than 120 years, with care and values at the core, he has carried a family legacy which still continues to serve the community in numerous ways.
My 70th birthday speaker there, I sent every member of the staff a gift and a note from me. Yeah.
Kind of wish I came to work here now.
I was brought up in Dagenham. We had a very happy family life. My parents were part of a number of members of our family that lived within a mile of one another. I went to the local school at John Perry School. I was madly into kind of sport in football and cricket and played for the school teams there. I really did enjoy my upbringing in Dagenham, and Dagenham was a completely different place to what it is now. Our family go back in Dagenham some 270 years, and that is quite something. We've got everybody that's kind of buried in Dagenham churchyard, so we've got a record of that. So it's a long kind of association we have with Dagenham. My father obviously was a funeral director, but his father started our business in Dagenham in 1903. But even before that, my great-great-great-grandfather was chairman of the parish council. He was also overseer of law, which is a strange title now. Cases where people were convicted were dealt with locally, and there used to be a group of people that used to kind of listen to the case and then kind of say he was guilty or not guilty, and it had to be passed to my great-great-great-grandfather to see if it was lawful what they were doing before that person was sentenced. So, we've come a long way in Dagenham, when Dagenham literally was a handful of people, lots and lots of farmland, a church, a pub, and that was it. I liked school, but I liked it primarily for sport. I was a very kind of energetic youngster that the last thing that I really wanted was homework and sitting down and revising. I'm not proud to say it, but I left school with very few qualifications at all. I can really see the value of school and obviously learning, and kind of that's the basis of your kind of life. But to me, it was the friendship I had with my school friends, the sport, and then just the community we had there. When I actually left school, I didn't have too many qualifications, but I do think, and this is not a kind of knock at education, you learn more in the first 2 years when you leave school than you do perhaps in time about life. And it's about life that is the real kind of education that you need. It's a different world when mum's taken you to school or dad has, and you've been kind of looked after there. And I didn't actually go to university. When I was 15, I came in the family business, even though I was still at school. I just wanted to kind of be part of that. I can't say that I was probably the model student. And certainly with the education, no, I didn't get, any degrees, or I got a couple of O levels, but that was about my limit. Being involved in a family business, although we're not working for it because I'm at school, I was very involved in conversations at meal times. Just the life was evolved around, our family business. So it was something from a young age that I really wanted to do. It's not as though I wanted to do another career. It might seem a bit strange, but, from a 14, 15-year-old, I knew I wanted to come into our family business. It's something that I certainly never, ever regretted at all. It's something that I've, found a great value in the work we do. Of course, it's a business, but caring for bereaved families and looking after them is paramount to all my kind of work in life. Funeral directing probably didn't have the big appeal that a lot of jobs would have, but it was this kind of being brought up in it. It wasn't new to me when I left school. It was a kind of extension of my schooling life, and then going into business there. A lot of people used to say to my father, when I used to first go out on funerals when I was 16, he looked so young, and it was almost kind of frowned upon in them days that you had someone so young kind of carrying a coffin. But we got over that, and you then become your own person. You develop as a person there, and I was very kind of conscious of learning all parts of our business, and that is to make coffins, literally every side of it. So, it wasn't just sitting in an office as an office job, but it was the whole amount. Even when I was at school, I used to dig graves in Dagenham churchyard with my uncle, because that was the local kind of cemetery where most burials took place in those days. Even when I was 15, at times when death had occurred at home, I'd sometimes go with my father to move the deceased back to our chapel of rest. So people can say it's a bit unusual, but it wasn't for me, because it's an extension of our life, as a family business that you just developed into it. The family business, you come into it, it's a job. There's some degree of kind of, I suppose, excitement about starting something new. It's probably, after a few years, you realise what business was, what the job was, and you kind of understood it a lot more. I was always a very hard worker at a young age, and my mum always would say that I could be a scallywag and get up to mischief, but always a kind of hard worker. I was about 19. Unfortunately, my father had cancer, which thankfully got over for quite a few years, but I think it was at that time that I had to grow up, because we wasn't a big business in those days. It was more the kind of village funeral director there, but we were only employing probably 5 or 6 staff at the time. Him having to take a back seat to some extent, I had to grow up about 18 and 19, and that was probably difficult, but it also did me, a power of good of, really taking responsibility of what our work, entailed, and, the overall running of it. I look back on that and I can be very proud of it. At the moment, I've been in my business 55 years. Perhaps I don't look 70, but I was 70 last week.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And started when I was 15, so 55 years in one business, one kind of profession is quite something. In them times, you see an incredible kind of changes. Even in our funeral profession, it expanded quite somewhat over the years with buying different businesses. The staff kind of side of that is so important to me. I think you can run a business today and you can have a type of relationship with your staff, but with us, it is a different sort of thing because we have to always be a team. And I learned at a very young age that, you know, having staff that you could rely on, that you respected, that you almost become friendly with, so they really understood what our work was about, was so important. We had a boy that joined us when he was 15, and he was in problems with the police. He was kind of almost pushed on us the work experience through someone my father knew, said, "Will we take him for a week?" because he wouldn't go to school. The first couple of weeks he was with us, we thought, oh my goodness, we can't continue this. 40 years later, he's still with us and he's an integral part of our company today. He said to me many times, goodness knows what happened to me if I hadn't had a job like this. Now, he's so respected, he's made a life, and, you know, I actually love him to bits. He's been dedicated to our work and he runs our workshop complete. He's got a very slight disablement. He doesn't go on funerals, but he's got an expression, leave it to me, I'll never let you down. And for 40 years, he's never let me down. Some people don't have the opportunities. Some people have the opportunities and don't grasp them. I'm lucky enough that being brought up in a family business, I've had the opportunity. So people say to me, oh, you've done well. Well, that's for other people to judge. But I was very grateful to have family support, the opportunity to do what we've actually done, you know, in our business. Running the business is always a responsibility. It's a responsibility to obviously the work you do. It's a responsibility to the staff you employ. That is very, very important, to look after people. Good times, there's bad times in business. There's sometimes when you go home, you think, oh my goodness me, shall I sell the business? But that lasts for about 2 minutes and we move on. But no one's going to have a business experience where there's not problems. That is just kind of life. We like to think in the borough that we've got a lot of respect that's been built up over the years. And when you meet people in the street, although you might carried out funerals from 5-10 years ago, and they come up and say, I'll never forget you, how kind you were to me, and how you helped us through. That is the real rewarding part of our business, that you know you've made a difference to people. Well, our business, as I said, was formed in Dagenham in 1903 by my grandfather and his best friend, which is a gentleman called Harry Coe. A lot of people think we're a West End company, but no, we're not. It is two people's names. There's my grandfather, Edward West, and his lifelong friend, which is a gentleman called Harry Coe. But unfortunately, he had no relatives at all when he died in 1956. But clearly, the name's always been there, so we've kind of kept the connection there. But it is two local lads in Dagenham, as it were. In 1903, they served their apprenticeships as builders, and they joined together. But we were actually, when our business started, not funeral directors, we were builders. And the connection there, because if you could imagine Dagenham being just, you know, fields and fields and handful of families, there's probably maybe 10 deaths a year in Dagenham. Now that might just seem ridiculous to even comprehend that today, but that's what it was. And we were quite big builders in the day. We used to build quite a few houses. We've got houses in the state, even in Hornchurch, that is still standing today and was probably built about 60, 70, even longer than that years ago. So we were very much business builders, but where the link came that the builder would employ a carpenter and the carpenter would make the coffin. Funerals were such a basic kind of occasion in those days. They would come into us and they would say, so-and-so's died. The death would probably be at home. There was hospitals, but not many people died at hospital. They died at home. My grandfather would then go and see the family. He would come back and get the coffin, the carpenter to make the coffin. Directly the coffin was completed, that would be taken to the house. We didn't move the deceased back to our chapel of rest. The deceased stayed at home. So a day or so later, we'd come there with the coffin, place the deceased in there, and then literally a few days afterwards, we would have the burial in Dagenham churchyard. The service would be in church, the burial was there. Very few funerals ever lasted more than about 4 or 5 days from the date of death to when the funeral was. And local men in the community would come together and carry the coffin from the house to the church. There was no vehicles. My grandfather would just be there to kind of oversee everything at the time. And that's how simple funerals were. So up until 1927, when the big GLC, that's Greater London Council, estate was built with some 28,000 houses in over 10 years, which obviously changed Dagenham completely from a country little village to the area it is today. But up until then, we probably, make maximum about 10 funerals a year. Supervising the first funeral in the sense where when I was only just 18 by a couple of days, but it was a situation where we had 2 funerals at the same time. The manager at those days was off sick. My father was doing one funeral and I had to do another, but this funeral wasn't small. We had 5 limousines, lots of flowers, probably about a couple of 100 people. Now, as an 18-year-old that has just turned 18, that looked probably 15, it was a daunting prospect. But when I did that, and the family come back and said to my dad, the boy's done very well, that was a kind of, something I could be proud of, because to stand in front of, that amount of people and to carry that out, it's not easy. Even today, we get a kind of mixed amount of kind of very big funerals, and there's lots and lots of things that can go wrong. So it is the check-in, it is the kind of the understanding of the family, all those things that are just so important. One of the first achievements which really was when I was the founder president of our funeral association, SAFE, which is Society and Allied Independent Funeral Directors. I was only 34 at the time, and that was formed in 1989, and I was the first president of that, and that was right throughout the country, and today it's got well over 1,000 members, so that was a big achievement. And then I suppose the other big achievement was receiving the MBE, which I had no idea when it came through, that the fact that I was nominated there. It was in a brown envelope. Now, brown envelopes are not the first thing I pick up and open as a post, and I can honestly say that that was left in our porchway there for a week before one Sunday afternoon. I just went through all the papers and that, and I'm looking. And I just couldn't believe it, the fact that I left it a week as well. But that was an incredible honour. Prince William was actually the person that actually installed that honour, and that was something that I'm incredibly proud of. I really am quite a humble person, no disrespect to the title, because I am really honoured, but I never have MBE anywhere in my papers. I never like to think I'm better than other people, and you know, that's me. That was a great honour. I've had lots of other kind of achievements in life away from our funeral business. I'm involved in lots of kind of community projects, and they've always been, you know, they've fulfilled me really, you know, of what we've achieved on some of them. You know, and then I suppose the business today with the staff we've got, you know, and what we've actually achieved, I can look back and I can be, you know, never big-headed, but quite proud of what's been achieved over many, many years. I've never really gone to sit with someone to learn how to kind of run a business, but with the family, I think it's the morals and, you know, what your business is founded on. My grandfather was a very, very religious man, strict on his Christian faith, but also the way the business was run. When I actually took over officially from my father, which is probably about 38 years ago now, he made me sign a statement that I've got in my office that I'm still very proud of, that I will continue to run the business on Christian principle with honesty, integrity and care. And that meant a lot to him. It means a lot to me today because, you know, it's something that we have continued. 10% of all the profits our company have ever made from when we began in 1903 were always put back into community projects. And that's another thing that I had to kind of sign for. We still do that today, probably a bit more. But it is them kind of the mentors. My father was always, you know, very, very principled man. He knew what was wrong was right. He knew, you know, there's no shortcuts in our business. You know, you can't kind of think, oh, we can do this behind people's back. No, we don't do that. When you're brought up in a business, to kind of have that installed in you as a young age, it puts you right, you know, on morals, on doing things correctly. And although, you know, I've never really sat with someone that's actually there to kind of tell me what to do or that or what not to do, I think the big thing is you really do understand our work. You understand philosophy behind it and the strength of a family that are there to do something. We're not in it to kind of make quick money or anything like that. I've always been one that has got, thankfully, plenty of energy in everything I do, not just physical but mental energy as well. So when I've set aside to do something, you know, I am quite determined that we do it. Inspiring, I think a lot of it comes, it's your nature, it's you as a person that kind of generates that. No one's ever kind of said to me, oh, you've got to make this amount of money, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. It's having opportunities and thinking about them and doing things the right way. We've done things correctly, we've kept the standards, and we've got an excellent team that we've built together here for a long, long while there. What motivates me, you know, again, is service. It is that you make a difference to people's lives. It also is great for me to come in and you've got a staff that are totally with you, supportive. You don't kind of view them as a distance. Just the other day when I had a celebration of my 70th, you know, that what really almost brought me to tears was the amount of cards and gifts I got from staff. They didn't have to send it to me. They haven't got a creep about me, it's not that, but it was some incredible kind of, you know, things of what I've meant to them over the years. So that team ethics in the business, and to me, it's very sad when I see businesses around, and I know lots of business owners, and you know, they haven't got that kind of stuff. They're always moaning about stuff. Oh, you can't get good stuff today. You can't do this. They never really look at themselves and say, you know, it's a partnership. You know, it's not all give and take. You know, you've got to work on that, and you've got to kind of invest in the staff. And then you, not to say you never worry about staff, conducting a funeral on the day, we want everything to go right. if you've got experienced staff that are dedicated, trained, and know what they're doing, I can tell you to do a funeral is quite easy because you can go and engage with the family and you know the staff know exactly what they're doing. If you're always changing staff, it can be a real kind of headache of having people inexperienced there that you're frightened they're going to do the wrong thing. So the whole business of, kind of staff, it's building a team that is really there, with you, supporting you, is immense. The obvious one was COVID. It changed our kind of way we run our business. It changed things within a week, where we still had to continue. We didn't know if the whole country was going to be wiped out. We didn't know if we're going to have a business, in a month's time. No one knew what the next day was going to bring. Now, over the years, we have had kind of, I suppose, problems at adversities there, but COVID was one that we really did kind of worry about because we've never experienced that. And obviously with the amount of deaths there was, which was double what we've been, normally used to, the restrictions, the fear, we knew personally people that, would look quite healthy people that passed away through the COVID. It was an incredibly worrying time because when you take funerals on, and we're quite a big business, but if we've got, for instance, 10 funerals a day, now if all my staff don't turn up, we're obligated to that family. And it's not just, I don't want to put it flippantly, that, the singers kind of had a sore throat, come back tomorrow. It isn't that. People expect you to be there at a certain time. So to get the staff commitment on that, and we had to really kind of, have our staff together. We used to have meetings every Monday morning through COVID at 6 o'clock in the morning with our senior team to see how we were coping. Now, we were very, very fortunate to have about 90 odd staff that we've got in the area here. We only had 3 people off with COVID, which was remarkable, but the pressure was immense. I said to my staff, I don't mind what time you come in of a morning, but no one is going to be in our premises after 5:30 of the night. It was because the family relationships back at home, the person working here, it was bad enough for that. And we got quite a young staff where the wife was at home with the children, but if she never saw her husband at 10 o'clock at night, then he was out the next morning. The pressure for her. So we had to, there's a lot of kind of things we had to think about there. One is the work we carry out, one is the family relationship, and the other one was obviously still looking after the family. The families that obviously came to us, and it was more and more, just after Easter, the first time round, it was so kind of incredibly busy that it's probably doubled of what we've ever done funerals in a week before. We can say with a capital P that we were so proud of how we overcome that and how we managed to get through that time. But the staff, again, the great team we had and we still got, was immense. When we had the second wave of COVID, which is obviously the more the December, January, of the following year, I think we all had, experience of what the first is. Although there was probably as many deaths then as there was the first time round, you had the experience. And having the experience, knowing that there was a kind of end to it or a slowing down of it. And, that at the time, helped us. They were really, really challenging times. And we were able to help 2 or 3 other smaller funeral directors out locally because unfortunately they had, a number of staff off with COVID. So, what we did in them times, it is to do with organisation. It's to do with understanding what we're doing and it's the commitment and passion that we all had that got through that. You can always say, oh, I've had enough, I can't carry on, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, but you just got to dig deep, and you've got to get through the tough times. Yeah.
Tough times don't last, tough people do.
That's true. It really is dedication. It's having the drive, you know, and when you have difficult times, it's getting through them and realising you've got through them, learning from experience. I was a pretty good cricketer. When I was 16, 17, I was in the first team at a decent club. But when my father became ill, then all the emphasis was on our family business. So I never played another game of cricket until 20 years later. I never, ever had any sort of alcoholic drink. The reason for that was not that I'm, you know, a teetotaler in that respect, because I never knew what time of the day or night I was ever going to be called out. And we were a small business, and I did most of the night calls myself. So there's no point in having 3 or 4 glasses of wine and then you get a call at 10 o'clock at night to go and see a family to remove a body back, and you think, oh, I can't go because I've had something to drink. So I purposely never drunk. My wife, who's been my biggest kind of supporter in every respect, you know, she's always been one to kind of really support me in everything we've done. And, you know, at times it has been hard work. Sometimes, you know, you're working weekends, you know, night times, everything else. That's where you've got that dedication and that commitment where, you know, you have to kind of see things through. You learn from experiences and, you know, it puts you in very good stead in the future. What we do, helping people at their lowest, you know, I think in making a difference to people's lives, even the staff, that is a big motivator to me to always strive to perfection, always strive to kind of do your best in life. There's obviously different levels about that, but if you can sit back and say, yeah, I really did well over that, I've done well, and you judge yourself a lot of times because people can judge you and they judge you on probably not knowing all the facts, but you know what you've done and how you've done it. And I think, you know, the motivator to me, it's like with COVID, it's like plenty of other things, is how we've got through them situations. And that, to me, is something, you know, where you can be proud of yourself and put a kind of tick. Having a purpose to get up in the morning and do something is so important to everybody. All my staff know that what motivates me is the service, not the balance sheet. Because if it was a balance sheet, I wouldn't be working at 70 and still going out conducting funerals. It's a passion, and I've always kind of, you know, seen it as that. If I had the experience that I've got now when I was 40, I'd be dangerous. Experience is the key to a lot in life. What you do, how you treat people, how you run your business and everything else. I'm not frightened of conflicts at all and having, you know, kind of hard conversations. As long as you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I've been fair. And I think if you're fair in life, whatever it is, and in business and any other walks of life, you kind of come across kind of instances where they are pressure, there are situations you'd rather not deal with. But if you've been fair and you kind of dealt with it in the right way, then you can be. That's not to say at times I regret things I've done. Of course, everybody's got regrets. But, you know, the older you get, the more kind of at times you take a deep breath, think, and then answer rather than fire off at the hip something. And, you know, and I used to be probably a bit like that going back 30, 40 years ago. But it's... But having that good family support with you, and I've got an incredible son and daughter that work in our business. They've gained respect for their own right, not because they're the boss's son. I've got other family, I've got nephew and a sister and brother-in-law in there. So, you know, it's having the stability of that around you that kind of helps you, you know, when you're looking for strength, to know that you're not on your own. Work hard, make a difference to people, be involved in the community, be involved in you know, the outside world quite a bit. If you're fortunate enough to either have the ability or the finance, anything else, you know, make a difference. There's so many people and people that I know that are very kind of self-centered, self-motivated, where it's all about, you know, their business, what they can make. Generosity is something, it is so important. Not just generosity of giving out money, but generosity in your spirit, in your kind of your advice to people. And I've said to a lot of our staff, you know, caring, you can teach caring, but it comes from the heart. And if you've got, you know, kind of morals like that, I think it's very important. I've been given advice at times. I'm not always taking it. Sometimes I probably regret it. Sometimes, you know, I think, well, yeah, that's it. But there was a person that said to me, never try and police staff because you won't. And I thought, well, okay, we're a different business to a lot of businesses, you know, and we're going back kind of on staff, and there's a lot of them that my staff will come to me with personal problems. Now, I don't say what I think to, you know, our work. I try and help where I can. And you try and give them good advice, and it's not always what they want to hear. You know, I suppose I feel quite almost honoured that they would come to me and ask me, you know, how they get out of situations or this, that and everything else. So we've got a number of our boys that are, I say boys now, that have only ever had one job. And some of them have worked for me 35, 40 years. Now that is a long, long time. Only have had one job. And, you know, some of them are like my closest friends, although they work before. They don't work for me, they work with me. And that is very important that we've got that kind of relationship. My phone's on 24 hours a day. If they want to phone me, if they've got problems, which some of them do, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and not often, but, you know, they know they can, and they'll get the support. So it's a partnership. I've had a lot of people kind of give me good advice, you know, a word in, encouragement, but nothing that really stands out. Another member of staff, and he won't mind me saying this, he joined us when he was 16, and for 3 years, I thought, my goodness, why have I employed him? He was coming in late at work, but again, there's something about him, and he was with the wrong salt. He was drinking too much, unfortunately on drugs, and he's probably one of the only ones I've had to sack. And so we dismissed him, and then 2 years later we did his grandmother's funeral. His mum wrote me a letter at the time, and she put in there that I thought she was going to have a go at me for sacking him. But she said that, you know, I really had been like a model father to him, and he hadn't got a father, and, you know, she's so sorry, you know, that he's let me down. He came to me and said, I've changed totally. I've changed my life, everything away. I moved away, I'm back now, but I've changed. Please give me another chance. And a lot of my staff thought, am I mad to actually give him but a couple of months later, I did give him another chance. He's been with us now 14 years after that, and he's probably one of the most caring, lovely people you could ever get. So there is a second chance in life at times. I always want to try and see the good in people. Everybody goes through bad spells. Everybody kind of, you know, probably hasn't had the upbringing that I've had, in the sense of the family, you know, protection, the family values. Whoever it is in life, there is chances out there. You know, it's up to you to take them. But when you take a chance, when you get an opportunity, make the most of it. Make the most of it. Yeah. When you've got awkward situations, take time to process it and react. Don't just straight away from the hip and that. And I'm not frightened to apologise. Sometimes over the years, you know, I've snapped at the staff. I would happily say sorry. You do learn from experience, as I say, But I think a lot of times in that, you know, it is kind of taking a step back, thinking of it, thinking the bigger picture, and then answering from there. Something really annoys you, you know, the big thing I've learned is don't react at the time. Just try and calm yourself and give a measured response. I think you've got to have passion. I think you've got to have motivation. You've got to have a commitment. And you know, in our sort of work, you have to have, you know, a caring nature with you. This isn't like a normal business. We get people walking here from all nationalities, all kind of cultures, but the thing they've all got in common, they're grieving. A lot of people that come in here, I know, because obviously my commitment in the community and carrying out funerals for years, but there's also a high degree that we don't know. Now, they come in, they're not experts arranging a funeral. They are really coming here naive at their lowest. They want support, they want guidance, they want to be cared for. This goes back to my grandfather as a never ever take advantage of a bereaved family, because you know, again, morally and ethically it would be totally wrong. But we've had people come in here and you know, say, oh, we want the best for so and so. Yeah, they do, of course everybody wants the best, but that doesn't have to be the most elaborate coffin that's going to cost them lots and lots of money. It's actually understanding what a family want. It's understanding, you know, their needs, and trying to kind of put into place of a funeral what they actually want genuinely, rather than what you want to kind of, you know, think they should have or anything. It goes back to the word trust, it goes back to the word care. Them sort of things are so important that we always kind of look after families to the best when they come in. It's what people kind of respect they have for you, and you can't buy respect. Respect has to be earned over, you know, years. I think with our family business as well, going back to all the points about morally doing things right, the caring, and that's what you want to be. I think I'm right in saying that only 3% of family businesses ever reach the 4th generation. That's a government statistic. So, you know, for us to reach a 4th generation is quite, you know, special. I think even for a 3rd generation, only like about 18%. So, you know, to have a family business that's been involved in the community as much as we have, and we are involved in goodness knows what in the communities, and we, you know, there's quite a prominent person, you know, in Dagenham, and I've known him, he's a good friend of mine for probably about 30 years, and he said to me, I've never heard anybody complain about your business. Now, he wasn't just kind of saying that to impress me, but that to me meant everything, because, you know, we make mistakes, any business do, but I think in life, it's when you make a mistake, how you handle that tells people, the person or the company you are. Give an example. When my son was 13, my wife went and bought my son a watch. She went to collect it 2 days for her birthday, and it wasn't ready. Now, she was annoyed because she, you know, she was told that it was ready. So she went over there, and they said, look, we're really, really sorry. You know, and the manager came out and he said, please, we will deliver it to you personally a day later. We had a person that brought it over that actually worked for John Lewis. It wasn't just a courier. Booked it there with £100 voucher to spend on there, an apology letter that we've still got. So what do I remember about John Lewis is that, not the fact that the watch wasn't ready on time. So, you know, when we have any kind of problems here, and there is at times, and today we've got a lot of kind of split families where, you know, we have to be so careful that we're dealing with the right people. we have to be almost like the mediators, you know, in a family war, because they can't stand one another, and you know, money's got a lot to do with that, where the money's being left, and you know, so all in all, you know, we are, I suppose, vulnerable to having criticism aimed at us. That probably a lot of it is unfair because of the situation. But whenever we've got a complaint, and thankfully it's not very many at all, it always comes to me directly, and we deal with it face on. And if we made a mistake, I'll be the first one to be the most humble person ever. You know, when people have said to us afterwards, you know, how you've dealt with it, you know, we just didn't expect that. But that is, again, is being humble. It's understand the longevity of our business is the name above the door that, you know, that we want to always preserve whatever we do. Showing gratitude is so important. We have a lot of people that write to us as a business afterwards expressing how grateful they are. Now, as I say to all our staff, after a funeral, I can assure you, most people, the last thing they want to do is write letters or anything else. If anybody's written you a letter handwritten, they've done it because they are really grateful, and it isn't just a matter of, you know, routine letter. So the gratitude of receiving it here means a lot to the staff, and every single thank you letter we have is shared with all our team. It didn't just, you know, me to kind of put on my desk and say, well, that's fantastic. Everybody kind of knows, because it is part of the team. Everybody's contribution makes that funeral what it is. I think also in expressing gratitude, you know, we're a, I suppose, a bit of a strange company in that in today's world, but we do have a Christmas party where everybody and their partners attend, and that's not just because the governor's asked us to. They enjoy it because there isn't an us and them situation. We have about 180 come to that, and we theme it. We have an absolute fantastic time. I actually write to every single member of my staff, the 100 plus, every Christmas with a personal letter. It takes me ages. We give them, you know, Christmas bonus. I thank them for what they've done throughout the year. So, you know, gratitude is on both sides. Sometimes I feel, you know, in life that I've done a lot for someone that isn't grateful. I've also done a lot for people where I don't want to kind of keep on saying to me every 5 minutes, oh, I want to say thank you, Mr. West, what you've done. No, it's not that, but it's just appreciate gratitude. And you know, when people come to me in hard situations, and you know, I'd like to think that we've made a difference, but they remember that always. And you know, again, gratitude is a two-way thing, but we're very communicative with our staff. We have different events throughout the year, you know, where all our staff attend and they enjoy one another's company. And you know, so again, it's getting the balance right where there's appreciation. And in today's world, there is a lack of gratitude and appreciation in business. And I look at unions, and I've got no problem with unions, but I think, do we need a union here? No, you don't, because what you'll do is to, and this is no disrespect to unions, you could almost kind of stop that closeness of, you know, a member of staff coming to us. We look after our own. Other than retirement, I don't think I'll have anybody even leave us. But it is being grateful to the staff, it's showing appreciation. We text and send quite a long text to every member of the staff every week throughout COVID. Again, thanking them, thanking their families for, you know, what they've done, kind of encouragement. It was you know, look, we've got to keep going and everything else. People appreciate we're doing a fantastic job. But that communication, gratitude, appreciation, amens. a lot of the younger staff, I say younger, 30, 40, and they used to say to me, what's Western Co going to be like when you're not around? And they were a bit fearful of it. The next generation, my son's been involved in the business for a while. He's well respected. About a year ago, my daughter came into the business that everybody said, she's like a mini me. We have addressed that. We've addressed it very much, in the sense that they see the next generation taking, and they're not youngsters. I mean, they're in their 40s, my nephew, my son and daughter, but they see a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is quite incredible within a year where, that has been, there's an enthusiasm about the future, not kind of a fear. I don't, touch wood, I thank God I keep a reasonably good health, and, I'm still up at 5, 6 o'clock every morning, much to my wife's annoyance, and I'm in here at before 7. I don't intend to kind of just, 2 weeks time, that's it, not at all. But of course, when you get to 70, you do take it a little bit easier. I've got a lot of kind of community projects that I'm involved in, which do take a bit of my time. When you get to 70, you have to realise you are 70. You might not look it and you might not feel it, and that might be, a bit vain for me to say, but I don't see myself as a 70-year-old. The future has to be addressed for the good of the business, myself and the family, and I think over the last few years we've kind of gradually easing into the next phase where hopefully the family business will continue, and I'll still be part of that, maybe not quite as prominent, but there to give the guidance and install the next generation, although they know it, with the morals our business started from.
I am.
Jeremy West. No, well, I am passionate about life. I've got a kind of drive with me which is, important in everything I do. I've still got, a lot, I believe, to offer. I've changed as a person over the years. I believe I'm a lot more kind of understanding of people now. I think I'm a far better person. I am a Christian. That doesn't mean to say just because you're a Christian you're better than anybody else. I don't hold with that fact at all. But, I'm proud of the life I live, and I try and do what's right.
Well, what levels is way back? Oh my gosh.
oh yeah, you. Wow. Yeah. That's testing my age now.
You know who you are.
Yes.
Occupied.
Oh yes.